Hello everyone, welcome to Holiday Blues 2023 edition. I am Nichelle Wilson, one of the co-founders of Happy Mama Happy Minnie. My other co-founder is not with us today, but she sends all her love and blessings in this holiday season. Just to touch a little bit to remind some of you what Happy Mama Happy Minnie is, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization that focuses on mental health awareness. We give back through life-changing experiences. We offer a network of community-based environment as well as the village. And in addition to that, we are an advocate for change, and whatever that change may be, depending upon the universe, what's happening in the world. And in addition, like I mentioned before, bringing awareness to mental health in all the aspects of life. And today I have a very special guest, one of my favorite people in the world. This is, God bless you. We have an audience in the background. God bless them for being here too. An amazing Dr. Branson. However, she is Chantel to me. We've been friends for about 23 years now, roommates in college, and I'm just so excited the wealth of knowledge that she has to share with us and everyone that she comes and encounters. So I'm happy to have her here. She was actually our first special guest when we first did Happy Mama Happy Minnie Holiday Blues the year that we launched. So thank you for coming back. And I think we decided we got some really cute upcoming fun things happening. So you might see a lot of her. So we're basically I'm going to allow her to just kind of disclose, she has a disclosure for you all, and to share a little bit more about what type of doctor she is, and then we're going to jump into holiday blues. And for those who are like, oh, what are holiday blues? Basically, it's referring to feelings and emotions that occur during the holiday season. And Dr. Branson, Chantel, she's going to get a little bit deeper into what the holiday blues are.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me. Yes, I'm so excited to be here again. It has been a very long time. I want to first introduce myself to let you all know who I am. I am a board-certified neurologist. I know Nichelle. We were roommates in college together. I trained at Boston University, where I completed my residency, a neurology residency at Boston University, and a fellowship training in movement disorders and sleep medicine. So I have extensive training and knowledge about neurology and psychiatry. Our board exams require us to take both psychiatry and neurology testing. And I have a little mini myself, and that was the one you heard sneezing in the background. So I think I also have that as well. Although I primarily treat and take care of people who are older, who are adults. And the disclaimer is that while I am a neurologist, I'm not your neurologist. So I really encourage you all to seek expert advice with your individual condition or problem or concerns. It's so important to reach out and to talk to your doctor, your physician, or therapist about some of the topics we'll be talking or addressing, because we can only do a high-level overview. We won't be able to get into details about individual problems and or concerns. They don't have to be just problems. It is important that you find someone that you trust and really have a conversation with them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So do you want to jump into the icebreaker before
Yes.
we get a little bit more into holiday blues?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have been tasked to talk to you all about 4 different topics. I'm going to talk a little bit about each topic in detail and then give you a high-level overview or summary of those topics. And as the icebreaker, I want to go around our in-audience studio. We also have a mini here who will be coming up and talking to us as well. And ask you all, what do you consider or think of as holiday blues? What is your definition of that, and what does that mean to you? Anybody?
When I think of holiday blues, I think of just the stress of the holidays, and I also think about maybe being blue or being sad because you're missing a loved one, or because you may be stationed somewhere that's far from your family, or you may not live in the same area as your family. And so those are the things that I think about when I hear holiday blues.
Great. stress of loved ones. So while we're talking and having this quick icebreaker, we're also going to be giving definitions. So if I hear something, I want to be clear that we all are on the same page of what that means. So when we say stress, that means something out of the norm, out of the typical day-to-day activity of the life that you do on a Monday through Sunday that can make you feel uncomfortable or make you feel a certain way, heighten your physical feelings. Some people feel jittery. There are physical manifestations of stress in addition to mental ones where people may forget things or forget what they're saying or going to say because of those stressors. Anyone else? Holiday blues.
I feel that holiday blues, someone feels down and out. They might be depressed. They just feel like down on their luck at the time, and they just can't get into the holiday spirit.
Great. Depressed. That's a great word. Depressed can mean many different things. We use it commonly on a day-to-day terminology, but it can also have a diagnosis or a disorder within medicine. So depression is a problem where people feel sad to the point where it can affect your daily activities. It can impact it negatively. You can't get out of bed. You can't do the work that you used to do. You can't enjoy life with some of the friends and activities that you want to do. So that is what medical professionals call depression. We have a Minnie over here. Does he want to come up and join us and introduce himself? You can look straight ahead. So what do the holiday blues mean to you?
When I hear it sometimes, I think about what it means. Like, people wear blue stuff on the holiday.
I love it. Thank you. So he said that people wear blue stuff for the holiday. So this is so important because we want to tie in our little kids as well. And what does that mean to them? They may not have the right words or the way to kind of find what they're feeling, and it may be very what we call concrete or literally blue clothes, right? So that is how someone who's younger may say it, but the way they act, meaning the way they may behave or the things that they may do may be different because they don't have the proper way to handle some of these difficult conversations. And we're going to ask more questions of our little ones. It's so important that if you have a Minnie, you should incorporate them in these emotions and feelings and talking and having a conversation, even if it doesn't make any sense to them, because then you can start having that conversation together about it. So what we talked about: holiday blues, stress during the holidays, depression, wearing blue clothes. All of these are ways or signs of feeling sad or feeling blue. Also, when we're talking about feelings of sadness, one thing that we didn't talk about was anxiety. Anxiety is another way, again, that stressors, when someone mentions stressors, that can affect or cause medical problems, including depression or anxiety. And anxiety is overall generalized worrying, feeling very, very worried, not able to, again, do whatever daily activities that you have to do during the day, and making sure that you can have a good quality of life. So maybe worrying can make people have problems with sleeping because they're up thinking about whatever stressor is going on that day. So those are some of the signs and symptoms and things that providers such as myself and other doctors look for to determine if a person really has depression or anxiety associated with that. And that is different from holiday blues. Holiday blues is temporary. It doesn't, over a significant amount of time, affect your quality of life or your daily activities. It lasts mainly during the holidays and during a significant holiday or time. And when we're talking about holiday blues, we also have to remember, how do we talk about quality of life and how does that impact our daily activities, meaning fun things like shopping, social interactions, environments, holiday parties, Thanksgiving meals, and
Who's
going
cooking?
over and finding out who's cooking and participating. So many times when you feel like you don't want to do that or participate in that, identifying those factors and why do you not want to participate. Is there something or a loved one that you're missing during the holiday that may have been there just the 1 year before or one holiday prior to that that's no longer there? Once you begin to acknowledge this, we'll talk about some of the things we can do at the end. So that was my icebreaker, very short and sweet, talking about holiday blues, talking about what it means to you, getting the definitions out of the way early on, and understanding that depression, anxiety are different, even though we use it very commonly and often within our vocabulary. But today we're going to separate that from the holiday blues.
Awesome. So one of the go ahead.
One more thing, so sorry. Also, if you do feel depressed or anxious and it is impacting your daily living and you don't know who to reach out to, I want to make sure that you reach out to your doctor as soon as possible. Reach out to the provider and letting them know that maybe even you saw this or you were talking to someone about this segment, that you want to communicate this with them immediately, because holiday blues and depression and anxiety, all of that can impact your physical health and your mental health.
Yes. And some of our followers actually probably don't have a doctor or primary care doctor. So in those situations,
Yeah.
you can go into the emergency room, or if you're at home, you can call 911.
Yes, please call 911. Grady has a great psychiatric emergency room. I don't know if I can do that, but I am because I think it's important you know where to go.
Thank you for sharing that. Grady, everyone. Before we move on and she dive into the topics that she wanted to touch on, I wanted to share one of the main topics that come up in holiday blues, especially around having children or having a big family, whatever the case may be, which is the financial burden of the holidays. And with Happy Mama Happy Minnie, we have a financial advisor, and his name is Michael Watson, and he is with the Wealth Management Group. And I'm going to just share about 5 tips that he sent along for us to review and to go through as it relates to financial burdens. So, Happy Mama Happy Minnie financial advisor recommends setting a realistic budget for holiday expenses to avoid overspending and financial stress. Now, here we are walking right into the holiday blues. So what he's saying is, prior to getting the holiday blues, we create a budget and make sure that we're not overspending. Number 2, prioritize your needs over wants. So focus on essential holiday expenses first, such as gifts for immediate family, and then allocate funds for additional treats to stay within budget. So if your immediate family is your children and your priority, then that's who needs to come first, and everyone else would just have to, I made a joke with my family and my Instagram friends that for Christmas this year, I'm giving everyone my opinion. Gotta get creative. I hope they love it. Number 3, explore thoughtful gifts. Suggest considering meaningful, not cost, but meaningful, effective presents and experiences that bring joy without straining the wallet. So creating an experience, a free experience around town, wherever you may live, different Facebook groups, different things, just get creative. Google is a great source of finding creative ideas as well. And we're always available to help too. So feel free to email us and we will help you come up with some really creative experiences that won't cost you that much money. Number 4, take advantage of discounts. Encourage finding the best deals, utilizing discounts and comparing prices to make the most of your holiday shopping budget. Now, I used to work in retail, and I know the cost of things. I never, ever like to pay full price for anything. And that has always stuck with me. So I don't care how much money I make or don't make. I do not want to pay full price for anything because everything goes through a cycle and it cycles out, which means it's going to go on clearance, it's going to be on a discount, or there will be something very similar that is a little less expensive. And last but not least, plan for the new year. Start the year on a positive note by setting financial goals, creating a savings plan for future holidays to ease financial pleasures. And the new year awaits us, and if you need a financial advisor, we can help you there. Michael Watson will be more than willing to help and support you in that way. And what I would like to say, people think you have to pay for a financial advisor. You do not always have to pay for a financial advisor. So contact ours, and he would love to just get you onto the right path so that we can make the next year, 2024, go real smooth. That is all that I have in terms of the financial burdens as it relates to holiday blues.
All right, thank you again. I think it's called Doobies. Have you guys seen that? Google it. We'll talk about it later. Okay, so that's my cue to talk about our 4 topics today. I'll give you all 4 of them, and then we'll go through each individual. We'll do the same thing like a round table, just asking questions about each topic and then summarizing it at the end. I want to start with the topics are grief, connection, gratitude, and self-care. So to start, we're just going to dive right into it with grief. The question I'm going to ask is, what do you guys think of, or when you hear the word grief, what comes to mind?
Loss.
Experience with coping the loss.
Coping. That is an important word. I'll kind of try to pick out words here and there. So when we're talking about coping mechanisms, we have good coping mechanisms and bad coping mechanisms. So we need to talk about how to deal with coping loss. And coping with loss can look different for each individual, and there is no set time frame when you lose someone or how it may impact you. Anyone else? Grief?
Sadness.
I'm going to have our Minnie come up, who's getting a little... So can you tell me, what does grief mean to you? Can you look at the camera and define grief for everyone?
Grief means that something is dying, or something that I like, or something or somebody is dying or is getting taken away, and I wanted to play with them at that moment.
I love that. And when we say something, we can also talk about animals, we can talk about pets, right? Not just people. Somebody, correct, is dying. What is death? Can you tell me what death is?
Death is when someone passes away.
When someone passes away. So I wanted to make an example of this because I want everyone to know it is okay to talk to your Minnie about death, about dying, about loss, about grief, because whether you talk to them or not, me and Isha were talking about this, they will know. You can have a seat. Thank you.
Yes, they definitely will know, just to piggyback off of what you're saying. And recently, my daughter and I lost someone that was really close to us that actually wasn't family, but felt like family. And in sharing that news with her, I was a little nervous, but I wanted to make sure I shared the news with her. And just the way that children can just brighten up any situation is just so beautiful. Immediately, she said, well, Mom, you know, our friend that passed away, she was like, she is in heaven making everyone so pretty. And I was like, she sure is. And then the next day on the way to school, she said a prayer. She prays every day before she got out the car, and then she said a special prayer just out of the blue, and speaking to the person directly and just saying, we're going to miss you, but you're in a better place, having so much fun because you was such a light to all of us. And that's a 7-year-old. So believe it or not, children have a really good understanding of the things that we don't think that they have. Sometimes a better understanding than us.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, I'm like, she is up there making people beautiful. She will be missed, but you know, she left so much here that we're excited that she is in the next place that we all hope to get to. And the funny thing she said was, well, we all know one thing, Mom. You never know what these kids are going to say. I said, what? She said, well, she's definitely not in HE double hockey sticks. I said, she sure is. Where did you get that from? So she knows she's in heaven and not in HE double hockey sticks. And it just warmed my heart.
Yeah. Do you mind expanding about how you were feeling the next day and that conversation and interaction of how sometimes kids, when they're younger, they don't really understand how grief or loss of someone can make an adult feel. It can make them feel sad or maybe a little off or maybe feel like they're not able to focus. But again, the importance of communication, allowing them to have, or talking, allowing them to talk to them. Some people don't want to talk to little kids about grief and loss and death. But having that conversation, you were saying the next day with her and telling her that why you felt that way helped a lot.
Yes, it helped. It really did help a lot, and it just made me again in that I'm never out of mommy mode. So it made me realize, like, wow, I should probably share this with my mommy friends, especially because in that moment I felt so much better, and I didn't feel like I was hiding something from my daughter, or if I was sad, she knew why, and all of those great things. So, yeah.
And I do want to expand upon that. It is important to know that when you feel like you're hiding things, you want to protect them. So protection is so important, and being a part of that can really help with understanding what children are ready or can handle. Starting the conversation off about what this means to you, what does this look like to you, is a first step. But children are way more resilient than we actually know. So understanding that you should have a conversation with them about loss and about grief, and starting the conversation off with what you feel comfortable with, and then just increasing that a little bit. So I understand the concern about hiding things because most people want to protect them. And when we go back, I try to go back to some of these words that we've already used, like coping mechanisms. So depending on where you were raised, how you were born, and things of that nature, some people have coping mechanisms where nobody talked about anything in their family, right? Some people just didn't communicate, others did. And so you have to start to be intuitive and in tune with your own thoughts and things that you have had to deal with when you were growing up, and how does that impact your little one. So that's why I want to kind of be a bit of a myth buster, because the kids can really handle a lot more than what we think, and it is important that we communicate with them and we don't hold things back.
Yes.
I agree, you want to protect them, you don't want to show them, you don't want to be too gory with the details of loss, but you can just start off with a conversation about it and then build from that.
Yep, I totally agree. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. That actually came out of that, where we really don't have conversations. And Michelle and I were also talking about how I lost a dear friend suddenly. We went to high school together, and it just suddenly happened, and we're coming up on our 10-year anniversary, and she was a planner. She planned events. She did everything, actually, not just planning, but she did hair. She did a lot of different things. And so she was going to be helping me with that planning. And when Michelle and I started talking, when you approached me with this, I started thinking about her, and the fact that I haven't even started that planning yet because I haven't really fully dealt with that loss. And it doesn't matter the time or how long it happened or how long ago it was. This can be a loss. It can be an immediate sudden loss, something close or within a few days or weeks, or it can be something 10, 15 years. You know, if you lose a loved one or parent. I lost a friend, but any type of loss, people deal with it differently. And until you start to talk about it and communicate, you really don't know how it impacts you. So thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to move on
Yes.
to connection, and just transitioning through the grief to the connection. I would like to say, because of the conversations that I have with my daughter, whether it be around grief, since that we were last talking about, I feel so much more connected to her because she feel and see my real feelings. And I'm able to use my words to communicate, and then in return, when she's feeling away, she is repeating what she is learning. So our connection becomes even stronger.
I love that. And speaking of connection, I'm going to try something on air. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we're going to do it, okay? We just had some person just come in to the audience, and she did smile. She gave us a little smile, and she doesn't know.
Like, what's going on?
So I know the question is, what are you laughing at? I'm laughing at nothing. Did you know that laughter can make you happy, even if you're not laughing at anything? The Minnie wants to come up and join in on this conversation. Come on up, okay?
Meanwhile, the co-founder is sending messages on on things that make her laugh. See, the connection.
The connection. And we're going to tie it all together, but you want to talk about connections or laughter? What did you want to talk about to the audience?
Laughter is good for you, and sometimes that might be an exercise for you.
Right, yeah. So when you laugh and you exercise, you actually improve your memory or thinking. As a brain doctor, do you remember that? Where did we learn that from?
We learned that from Wow in the World.
Wow in the World. So Wow in the World is a podcast on PBS, on
PBS Kids.
PBS. And we'll give you that information after this. With Guy Raz, he's over that podcast, and they talk about cool and interesting things. And they had a segment about laughter. Thank you. You can have a seat. And the segment talked about how laughter can be contagious. So just laughing in a room full of people, even if you don't know what you're laughing about or no one remembers. I don't know if you've ever had that situation where you started laughing and you forgot what you were laughing about. I've had that before.
All the time.
So
Also here, it helps you lose weight.
yes. Yeah.
All through the holiday season.
That and sleep. If you do those two things through the holiday, sleep and not eat 2 hours before. Okay, so back to this conversation. Laughter alone can help make you feel better, and it can also help you with memory and thinking. And the reason that I wanted to touch on laughter within our conversation about connections is that unfortunately sometimes there is nothing to laugh about in life. When you're dealing with the blues, when you're dealing with grief, when you're dealing with loss and sorrow, you have nothing to laugh about. I say laugh anyway. No, because there's nothing after that. There's no laugh because of this, laugh because of that. Just laugh. And sometimes you heard that saying, I have to laugh to keep from crying. You have to laugh to keep from crying. That is an old saying, but there's scientific rationale and behind it. So it may be challenging, it may be difficult, and it may only last for 2 seconds, maybe not even that long, before you start to cry again. And it's okay. It's okay. But these are some of the positive coping mechanisms that I want to talk about. And if you're not there yet, that's okay too. You don't have to do that. But I just want to provide you with some positive coping skills about connections, and that you may be in the room by yourself alone and don't want to talk to anybody. And if you sit there and you just laugh, there's no set time for how long, or at least I didn't see anything about that, then it can sometimes make you feel a little bit better. So connections are really important. They don't have to be with family. They don't have to be with, immediate people around you. You can make your own connections the way you want them. You can make connections with friends. You can make connections with little ones. You can make connections with complete strangers. But it is very important. It's important to connect with others, even during a time of having the blues, especially around the holidays. Unfortunately, this is a time when people feel so sad or depressed or anxious or worried that they don't want to be here anymore. They don't want to be on this earth, and it is important to make those connections for your own mental health and your own health in general. So any way you can make those connections, picking up the phone and talking to someone. I prefer connections in person. The person can really see you. You can say whatever over the phone. You can say whatever via text. You can say whatever you want when they can't really see you. Those connections, not just with communication or talking, but there's also physical connections as well that are so important during this time. So even if it's getting outside, walking around the community if you can, if you live in a safe area, getting sunlight, making those connections with someone is so important. And those connections can look different for everyone, and it doesn't have to be a person. And my mini brought that up with the something. You can do it with animals or pets or just companions that are important to you. So it doesn't have to be a person. It can be an animal. It can also just being outside, getting out of the house, getting light to you directly is important. So those connections can be other things as well.
Awesome. And I agree. And I think, too, just adding on before we move on to the next one about connections, just making sure that while you're dealing with holiday blues, as we can see the mini, when he heard holiday blues, he's like, oh, people wearing blue for the holidays. So they're so disconnected from an adult brain of the holiday blues. So making sure that they have connectivity on a bad day for you, or a slow day for you, or a day that you just don't have the energy that your mini deserves. So make sure that they also have that connectivity so that they can remain in the holiday spirits, because they should not have to live through holiday blues, because that's something as adults we manage to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more comment about the connections. I'm also going to bring this back around during self-care. But I brought a few journals. One of them, my little one, is actually writing in now. And these are from the Dollar Tree, $1. And it's so important when we're talking about connections to self-connect. Connect with yourself, to communicate with yourself, to write down how you feel, what you want to do. This will also, I'll talk about this again in self-care with that particular topic, but it's so important when we're talking about connections. It's not just, I have to go see this person I don't even like. No, you don't.
Right.
You don't have to do that.
Learning to say no.
Right.
Yeah. Connecting with what works for you. I would like to ask out there, how do you all connect? What's your connectivity way of connecting?
I like and yes, we should be around people, but sometimes you have to disconnect to prepare yourself to connect.
Especially during the holidays.
Especially during the holidays. So you have to prepare yourself. If you know you're going to spend 8 hours on Thanksgiving with loved ones, then maybe you can disconnect and regroup and figure some things out to help you find center and peace. But that is true, though. In order for you to reconnect with people, sometimes you have to disconnect and recharge your own batteries, so that way your social anxiety can be managed while you're amongst others.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Speaking of social anxiety, so I'm an active duty military veteran, and with PTSD and those type of traumas that you have, it's very hard for me to be around people, regardless if it's my family members, if it's other work members, and sometimes even with myself with mental health and things of that nature. So you absolutely have to be able to find your center for yourself in order to be okay for other people. So that's another layer to that, as far as mental health too. So yeah, you have to find your own center in order to be okay.
I love that. Self-connect. So you don't always have to go out to connect with
That's good.
others.
Self-connect.
You do have to connect though. You
Yeah.
have to stay
And I'm also saying, and now, yes, we have to reflect and take your personal time to recharge, but in the terms of connecting with individuals, finding like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
If that is finding a mommy circle, a daddy circle, a friend circle. If you know, for example, Thanksgiving coming up, cook with a friend. You know, share a dish with someone, spend time with them. You know, whatever wavelength you on, try to find your tribe and see what wavelength that is for them to connect with people, because we do need human interaction as well. Yes, we love to spend time with ourselves, but sometimes we don't know the kind of healing it is when you are around loved ones or like-minded individuals who are, one, maybe experiencing something that you are, but also not experiencing something that you are, so you can like take a step out of reality and putting yourself in a fun environment so you can go home and reflect and think about those fun moments when you are in a dark space during your holiday blues. You can think about that happy moment of you and your neighbor baking a cake together, whatever that looks like.
And just like we talked about earlier, the notes that Michael sent to us about the financial burdens, I think it's also important to think of the connectivity burdens that you may have in planning advance, especially for families that are disconnected during the holidays. So, you know, I'm an only parent, single mother, and holidays for me look different because I don't have to share my child with anyone. However, I still have to deal with it because my child has questions every holiday season. No different than another mom or a father that is sharing their children with broken homes or split homes or blended families. Thank you. Preparing yourself for that, because there's a lot of anxiety that goes along with that, especially if it's new or if it's old or whatever that situation may be. So preparing your mind to deal with whatever that situation that you know that's going to be coming up during the holiday season beforehand, so that your children can have a flawless transition, because it is not their fault.
I love it. I love it. And when we're talking about connections as well, the most important thing is to know that while it can be a challenge to kind of force yourself to connect with others, ultimately at some point it will be very helpful and beneficial, and to provide and to receive those connections. So talking to people, if you go into a function or activity and people don't know you and they don't know that you have social anxiety or that you don't want to be hugged up on or touched like that, you know, having those conversations prior to going to those events and those social functions to let people know I'm here, but there are boundaries that I need to set for my own mental health. So I think those connections can also have strings attached to them.
And if they're your people, they'll get it. And if they're not, don't go.
But don't go back.
Don't go back.
Go, see how it is, and then make sure you have an exit.
All right, so let's move on to gratitude.
Yeah, so gratitude I think is the most fulfilling and rewarding topic. It removes those elements with loss and with grief and holiday blues. We're mainly talking about ourselves, what has happened to us, the effects of life and loss of loved ones and friends and family. With gratitude, we can see through a lens of others. We can talk about how we feel about being grateful, about being here, about being, you know, blessed when it comes to, you know, giving back or doing community service and things of that nature. I completely forgot. I just went on into gratitude. But does anyone want to talk about gratitude or any thoughts when they think of or hear gratitude?
Being thankful for things in your life, for people in your life, for experiences that you have experienced in your life. Thankful.
Yeah.
Thankful was my word also.
Thankful.
Yes, thankful. Thankful's a good word.
Yeah, I love it. We're thankful. What happens is we get caught up in our own problems and issues, and nothing is wrong with that. It is important that we really self-connect and we understand the issues that are going on and the problems with the holiday blues. But with gratitude, we can kind of look outward and we can say, you know, it could be worse. You know,
Not taking things and people for granted.
Yes, yes.
And I would say I would just challenge everyone during the holiday blues to make like a gratitude wall of some sort and incorporate that with your children of things that they're happy or, you know, they appreciate or what's their gratitude for. Maybe like a week, like each week at the end of the week, what were you most grateful for this week or whatever the case may be. And that's just to keep it top of mind. And if it's somewhere where you can see it, then it's a refresher and it's a memory as you're going through the household during the holiday blues and the holiday times, where it's like, you know what, today wasn't a good day, but I am thankful for this. And sometimes you have to see it to internalize it.
I love that. Pictures are always great. Having those out during those times that make you happy, and focusing on others and volunteering, seeing and being a part of that, I think is so important and enriching, because you're not focusing all on yourself during these times, that you see what others may or may not have and being grateful for what you do have.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or suggestions about gratitude? I don't know. I feel like that's such an easy one. It goes by so quickly.
You know, it's easy, but I think it's not easy, because if we took one of those notebooks right there and say, hey, fill out this page of things that you are grateful for, it won't be so easy. It won't be as easy, rather. Or in the midst of having a tough day, it's hard to say, but I'm thankful for this, but I'm grateful for that. So I think it's a quick conversation, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're doing it the right way and want to truly be grateful and thankful, as we mentioned, through it all. So I challenge you all to do that, and I have to challenge myself that a lot, and even conversations with my child at times. It's like, hey, you know, we're complaining about this, but what are you grateful for? Because you don't sound that grateful right now. Let's talk about the things that you're grateful for, just to put back in their mindset of, oh, okay, mom's right. Let me chill, you know?
I know.
So yeah, but yeah, so we can move on to self-care, which is our last and final
Yes,
one, and
yes.
really, really important.
Very. And we could talk about self-care for 30 minutes to an hour, all day, all night, because there's so many different things that you can do. I already kind of talked about this when we talked about connections and self-connections. I love the idea of the gratitude wall. I also really encourage journaling. It doesn't have to be writing things down. They can be pictures. They can be things that kind of just make you feel a certain way, and having that available. They can be what you don't like. Whatever you feel. It can be anger, sadness, hatred. These are, again, we're talking about coping mechanisms. These are so important that we talk about some of the positive coping mechanisms within self-care.
Yes.
In addition to taking care of yourself and other things of that nature, but journaling, writing it down, or putting a collage together, or pictures together if you don't like to write, really putting that somewhere together in a space where you feel comfortable having that. I strongly suggest you do that, especially during the holiday blues and then during the time where it can be really hard to kind of connect with others. And that's how it also incorporates with self-connections. In addition to that, when we're talking about self-care, we can definitely talk about some of the other things we've already pretty much talked about, is making sure you have time for yourself, space for yourself, being able to really reconnect with you and not having to deal with family members or figuring out, you know, if you have to go to the holiday party, you don't have to. You don't have to go to the holiday functions or events. But I would challenge you to ask yourself why. Because this is what we talked about earlier in the beginning about the difference between holiday blues and depression, or holiday blues and anxiety. if you're really not able to go because of other problems that you've had over a certain period of time, usually 3 months or longer, then that really, I've talked about reaching out to a doctor or talking more in depth with someone that you communicate with,
Yes.
because that's really important. So
Yep.
self-care doesn't mean you should isolate yourself. Everyone is different. Some people are very outgoing. They love to be out and do things, and you should get out. Some people are
Yes.
not. And if you're not, stay in, take that hot cocoa, get that book, read it. Reading books, finding something that you enjoy doing. And if
Your
you say,
hobbies.
yeah,
Or even asking for suggestions. So, for instance, a part of my self-care monthly is and bi-weekly is going to see my therapist.
Mhm.
And during the holidays, they have a family, they have time off, and everyone needs a therapist during the holidays, so it seems. So I'm grateful for my therapist that tries to fit in all of her clients as close as possible throughout before she goes on a vacation and as soon as she comes back. But in times that you're not able to, then asking, hey, your therapist probably knows you a lot better than some of your friends. So what do you suggest me to do to get through the holiday season if I'm not able to come to see you and to talk about all of my holiday blues or family trauma or drama or blended family questions, whatever it may be, asking that therapist or someone that you invest that self-care into to get you on the right path so that you can get through the holiday season.
Absolutely. And talking about support groups. So especially during the holiday season when you may not be able to have that therapist, there are a lot of different support groups depending on the problem or the issue that is occurring that you can reach out to and go to during those difficult times. But first, starting with the therapist and asking them that question is fantastic. Self-care means addressing and dealing with your mental and physical health. So I'm going to get on my physical health part now. Exercise. Exercise is so important, and doing things that you can do that you're physically able to do, even if it's something as walking, a little bit of light jogging. Ideally, cardio is really good. It helps with getting your heart rate up. It actually pushes out something called endorphins. It can make you feel good, make you feel better. I know it doesn't feel like it when you're first going through it.
Yeah.
But trying to get up and do something at least 30 minutes a day for 5 days, 150 minutes a week total, that will get your heart rate up, ideally.
150 minutes a
A
week.
week.
Wow.
30 minutes.
I'm slacking.
30 minutes, Monday through Friday.
I am slacking. So, what would be you all self-care for
Yes,
you guys?
yes.
What is your self-care from a physical standpoint?
Walking.
Walking.
Taking walks on the Beltline or in my neighborhood.
Okay.
It's not necessarily physical. I mean, physical is when you're moving your body, right?
Right.
Cooking,
Okay.
trying new recipes.
Hey, whatever works.
Whatever works. Flip of the wrist.
See, mine is doing things that make me sweat. Just anything that makes me sweat, I feel better.
That's very important. That tells you that your heart rate is getting up to where it needs to be. Ideally, 100.
Right on.
If my air conditioner isn't on, I sweat too when I cook.
For me, I don't necessarily have to get my heart rate up, but physically, yoga, because it absolutely centers you. It absolutely clears your mind. It also increases your serotonin and your endorphins. But yoga's not easy.
Mhm.
You definitely can sweat doing yoga.
Especially
So,
hot yoga.
Yeah.
And I heard Andre 3000 made a really dope yoga
Yes,
album.
it is.
I love
Yes.
it.
Thank
I
you
love it.
so much. Do you have anything else you want to add before we
One
wrap
more
up?
thing.
Okay.
I'm a sleep dog.
Our mini got. You want to add something? What you want to add? Come on up here.
Project.
I want to add that the thing that makes me feel happy is when I get to play a soccer game at home with my brother.
Aww. That is awesome. Thank you. Yes.
We'll end that there.
Yes. The little things that the kids enjoy. That's beautiful. Good job, Mom. So thank you guys for participating with us. I definitely appreciate you guys being here. We did things a little different this year. I actually kind of like it.
Yeah. It's more intimate.
Yeah, it's more intimate. We'll put this out on YouTube and our website. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I think we kind of talked Dr. Branson into being the brain doctor, going forward into the new quarter, doing quarterly talks like this, and the things that she especially specializes in. I think that's really, really good because there's some things that she and I have discussed that I think will be great to share with other moms that have gone through some traumatic experiences in life, and just to help you see a positive side of things through the brain doctor's eyes. And then lastly, of course, you guys know the Happy Minis they rule my heart. And I just want to remind everybody that supporting the minis is just our prime goal during the holiday blues section. So it's making time. If you have to, being intentional. So if you have to say from this time to this time, I'm going to spend 30 minutes to read a book with my child, 30 minutes to watch a TV show with my child, 30 minutes to allow my child to play in my hair, 30 minutes, whatever it may be. But make sure you devote that time and let them know, because these children understand what time is and what time is not. Words of encouragement, especially during the holiday. They're not going to be around their friends during the holidays, and everyone's household looks a lot different, and sometimes they're going to see a family member that they haven't seen all year, and they don't have a choice but to go. So making sure every moment you're giving encouragement and you're showing love and you're showing that you're caring, you let them know that you're there for them. Give yourself grace and allow them to see you give yourself grace as they give themselves grace as they are transitioning through this thing we call life. Thank you.